Randy.
Hi, good to see you. Yeah, everyone's on mute for the moment, but I'm glad you're here. So far, we have Randy, Cynthia, Maji, and Valeria already here in the room, and so we're balancing out the speakers with the presenters. I mean, everyone's presenter here, really, because you're being present. That's the idea. So we'll all be present here, although hopefully. Hopefully, you will have a chance to be in the witness mode, in the keynote listener mode, as Maji put in the chat here. Yes. um, okay, I think we probably should start moving with this. We have a lot to cover here, and we'll just flow with it. This has been the informal time in the green room, and I think now we can open it and begin to share a little bit about the event. Pavel, you are our lead.
Hello, welcome. Good, whatever time of the day is there for you, because we are really geographically distributed, and I know some people are joining us from the west coast or coast of the North American continent, and some are joining from Asian regions. So we have both people coming very early morning and late afternoon and evening. So whatever time of the day, good welcome. We gathered today to open up a new series, a new project, which is organized jointly by Living Cities Earth and Global Education Futures. And these two institutions are both committed to making positive contribution to the human transformation of our human civilization, to help us collectively learn to what my colleagues call human better, to discover what is the genuine quality of human beings in the 21st centuries and beyond need to be, and how can we actually support this transition. And that is the commitment of Living Cities Earth. On one hand, to see cities as a place where different layers or facets of our global civilization integrate, crystallize, and where we can learn to really transform each of these facets to really enliven ourselves, our interpersonal space, and our relationship with our ancestors, our future descendants, and the planet. And on the other hand, Global Education Futures is an organization that is committed to creating learning ecosystems for thrivable futures, for societal transformation, in order to actually accomplish a very similar mission. So the role of this talk today, and we hope to have this talk every month, is to actually show how these two big topics, the topics of transformation and evolution of cities, and the transformation of evolution of education and learning, can be in service of each other. How can we, on one hand, create systems where humans learn collectively to really serve better, to become themselves, to collaborate better, and how can cities be in service of that? How can cities be the support space, on one hand? And on the other hand, how can education and learning spaces become like a nurturing ground or nurturing space for the new models of our society and the place where cities are being transformed? So these two topics are actually interconnected, because when we think about, we recognize that people are learning locally, and that's happening in cities for most of us. So that's my opening, and today we will explore this topic. We will also explore why we decided to call this series Learning Gaia. There is a lot of discussion that was preceded this, and actually we will explore it deeper. And now I would like to pass to my colleague and co-host Alexander Laszlo, to introduce the series on his behalf.
Thanks so much, Pavel. Yeah, and what a delight to be here today in the spirit of the season. And you know, this spirit of the season is being celebrated in so many different ways, in so many different cultures, in so many different places around the world. And that's exactly what this series is seeking to explore, the human expression of the seasons of our collective being as the planet, not just on the planet, because truly, as humans, we don't live on Earth. We live in Earth. We are surrounded by the planet. The Earth, the atmosphere is above us. We're swimming through the air every day. And this way of interbeing is something that is deeply informed the basis of both of the organizations that have come together to offer this program, as Pavel has just said. So we want to take this time today to launch this series. So this is the Learning Gaia Talk. And if you've noticed, this is not Gaia Talks. This is Gaia Talk. What is the talk of the Earth, of our planet? How can we be better, not just citizens, but as our colleagues talk about here, planetizens? Kind of weird word, but the idea is that we really have our representation as members of this living planet. And therefore, we have a couple of places. Let me put into our chat here for those of you who haven't had a chance, but one organization is the Living Cities Earth organization, and that's key to, as Pavel said, holding this up. And the other is Global Education Future. So these two in the chat I just put in case you would like to explore, these two are the organizations that form the basis for this talk. And what I want to share with you here as we get going is a little ritual that I'm going to ask you to join me on. And then I will pass it on here first to Marina and then to Lev. So here's the moment. If we are, imagine that we are now the future ancestors as well as the hereditary offspring of a long line of beings, of Earth, of Gaia herself. And we hold this memory of all that we have been and how we have been interbeing. And we bring this into focus. What have we learned this year? What has come up for us this year as this living interbeing representing our planet? Have we humaned well? This is core to Living Cities Earth, learning to human well together. So take that, and I have my two candles here, and I'm going to light them right now. And I invite you to light in your heart your own two candles, and that you carry your two candles also. And I light these now here. One, first this candle, and this candle represents, as long as I don't burn myself down, this candle represents the memories of all the things we hold dear, all the things that have brought us to where we are today, all the things that we hold with great love that light our way forward because of what we've learned, what we've experienced, and how we have come down this path from this year. This is the candle of our memory. And I want you, please, to focus particularly on all that you cherished from 2023 as we're coming to the close of this time. And now I'm going to light this candle, and I'm going to take the flame from the other candle over here and light this one. And I invite you to light in your heart a second candle that you hold as well. And this candle, I'll hold it on the other side so we know which is which. So this is the candle from the memory. This is the candle of 2024. The candle of this coming year, the candles of things that could be, the candle that lights your way forward, that brings you to the future, that has you think about, these are all the possibilities that could be ours if we can take the choices together to bring them into being. into our interbeing. So in this process of learning Gaia Talk, we're going to go this path of, as global education futures, we're looking for how do we learn to learn together? And what is important to be learning to be good, to human well, as Pavel was saying, to human well together, right? So throughout this talk, I'm at some point I'm probably going to put these little candles out before the time is over, because otherwise we're going to have a much bigger flame over here, and we don't want that. But keep these burning in your heart, and we are going to now explore where we have been and where we are going in these Living Gaia Talk series. All right, keep the fire burning. Marina. No, wait, actually, Pavel, it's back to you first. You'd asked me to pass it to you, and then we'll go back. Oh, thank you, Cynthia, for keeping your candles burning as well. And you are mutable, Pavel.
Thank you, Alexander, for this beautiful opening ceremony. And indeed, I think we are moving through life constantly keeping these two candles, maybe in our own mind, and they both light our way. So I would like to invite maybe considering that the role of this opening talk is a little bit different from how we want to structure them going forward. So we decided that the opening talk will be at the same time kind of closing talk, exactly in the spirit of these two candles that Alexander was holding. It's actually to close 2023, to see what we have lived through, what were these powerful motives or powerful themes that emerged in this year. And there were a lot of events that really both inspired us and really probably made some of us fearsome. It's part of the reality of life that we need to deal with these polarities, with these contradicting tendencies and emotions. We deal with disruptions to our personal plans, and at the same time deal with a lot of support and hope for the future. And in our collective move to more aspiring, more human future, to the future where we learn to human well together for aliveness with love, as Alexander expressed it, we also find a lot of these supporting forces that carry us forward. So our first talk is not really a talk in the sense that we have one particular speaker, but we go into this spirit of collective exploration. And we'll start with our panel, but I would like maybe to suggest that at some point, you colleagues, everyone who listens, join in and start suggesting also your themes, your ideas, everything that sort of triggered you in this year, both positively and negatively, and how it can manifest in our topics, in our conversations in 2024, as we are kind of shaping this upcoming talk series. So let's, I suggest that let's, and maybe one more thing that I would like to say, perhaps representing here our colleague who unfortunately at the moment is not with us, Marilyn. He was supposed to be with us, but we don't know what exactly has happened, but she's sort of not really responding. We hope everything is all right with her, but we have to carry on as we agreed to have this conversation today. So something that I was hoping that Marilyn would say in the beginning of this conversation was why we decided to call this series Learning Gaia series. And this, of course, is a reference to the founder of Gaia theory or Gaia hypothesis, James Lovelock, who was one of first scholars to suggest that Earth itself is like a giant living organism, self-regulating itself. So over decades, since James has suggested it, the hypothesis have found more and more confirmations. Now there are fields of scientific knowledge, such as biotic regulation theory, that really prove that there are these large-scale self-regulation processes happening within our planet that are really holding us, supporting us, and making this planet livable. And at some point late in his career and late in his life, James Lovelock suggested that we can look at human habitats, cities, as one of its unique contribution that humans can make is this ability to reflect, this ability to understand, an ability to make something new. And looking positively at what cities are, he suggested that cities are Gaia's reflecting organs. And if we look at cities as Gaia's reflecting organs and recognize that the way this collective reflection happens is through learning, through collective learning, we can see how cities become the learning spaces of Gaia. And how more so, Gaia also learns to live in a new way, with us humans, of course, living in this Anthropocene age. We so far have mostly impacted Gaia in a negative way. But there is an idea of so-called good Anthropocene. There are some projects that are exploring this, saying, can we become, let's say, positive force that is contributing to the positive evolution of life and Gaia? Can we become in service of Gaia? So can we create the space where we and Gaia learn together to thrive together? So if that is an intention, we'll look through 2024 into various projects and various thought leaders that are actually working on this. So our main intent of the series is to bring really very interesting, practical people that are doing this on the scale of their cities or multiple cities, how they can use learning to really create the learning Gaia momentum. So that is the intent again, and that's the exploration that we will hold today. Let's collectively look into what has emerged through 2023 and what are the themes that we hold dear or we are concerned with that are really manifesting this learning Gaia potential. And I would like to invite, first of all of our speakers, but I also suggest that everyone who is the keynote listener today also start thinking about this question, and please use chat to share your thoughts, and then maybe we can also open up the space and bring more voices into conversation later in our conversation. And with that, I would like to pass perhaps to Lev.
Thank you for passing it to Lev. Would love to share, of course, but I remember that Alexander mentioned Marina will speak first, so I would rather, if Marina, you are comfortable, I will follow after you. Thank you. But great intro. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Pavel.
Thank you, Lev. I don't mind at all to follow you, but all the same. So first of all, I would love to welcome you and to bring gratitude to this space and hope that everything is well with our dear Marilyn. And these two candles lit by Alexander, that's a great symbol of their gratitude to their passing year and hope for the better year of 2024. And as Lev told us, we have a wonderful present, which is the third candle. And I think that it's not important to have the third hand to catch this handle, this candle. I think that we are such candles. We are the candles of presence, of present. And we are as their inseparable parts of, oh, Alexander, something is happening at your back. Are you okay? So yes, we have these candles in our hearts. And I think that we are as an inseparable part of nature, of Gaia. We are those lights and those candles who carry past, future, and mostly important present here in us. And speaking about the past events with gratitude, and perhaps that's the gratitude mixed with sorrows, but I think that in the transition times, that's our nature, that we learn better when we have challenges. That's the sort of the nature of human beings, that when everything is okay, we are not evolving usually. So we evolve and develop in challenging times. And unfortunately, not always we saw the wisdom and love and compassion in human beings, in our brothers and sisters on this planet. But at the same time, I think that only through these periods, we can really understand what is really important. Because when we have all our basic needs sort of satisfied, what does makes us want to present something to serve, to present something important? And of course, each of us personally, again, as the cells of big Gaia organism, and I like this metaphor very much, that each of us has our sacred right to make a choice what cell of the living Gaia organism to be. Are we the neural cells, or we maybe blood cells, backbone cells, or cancer cells? And it's really important for each of us in our day-to-day decisions to consider, are we acting as sort of developing and serving cells, or cancer cells, which just consume and destroy all the organism? So I think we have much to do. We can't speak for our politicians, we can't speak for international organizations, we can't speak for global corporate organizations, but we can speak for ourselves. And let's use this wonderful, magic, sacred Christmas and summer solstice period to conjure, to spell peace, happiness, compassion, wisdom, and love. So I am passing on to Jeff.
Thank you, Marina. I loved your image that we are the candle of the present. So through our stream of consciousness, through our reflection, through our awareness, we're able to really become not just the passing point between the past and the future, but we are creative beings, right? Which through our inner work, our outer work, in cooperation, collaboration with each other, we really could both reflect on the past and co-create the future. This is, for me, it's a very powerful and a beautiful image. I would like to take a moment to really share gratitude with Alexander and with Pavel, because I am on the west coast of North American continent, and it's about 5 a.m. Now it's 5:29, but still I was waking up at like 4:45 in the morning, and I wasn't sure I have much to share really at this time, especially since I have 2 small kids, and yesterday night was putting them to bed, etc. But Alexander and Pavel have really been to me personally, so I'm sharing my personal gratitude, really my guides into the space which opened up after 20 initial minutes of our conversation within my mind stream, into the space of calmness, reduced stress, expanded awareness, into the space of co-creation, creativity, respect for all living beings, as well as care and love for people who are present here, for people who are absent, but who are in our thoughts, like Marilyn or other colleagues, friends, and people we don't know. And why I'm talking about this is that last year, as well as all of the years of our lives, to me personally, and I'm sure not only to me, but to other people, have been the moments when we observed how we change spaces in our life, in our cities, in our companies, in our organizations. And it's through our influence on the external sort of circumstances that we create something new. And when I heard, I think Pavel was speaking about the fact that the future meetings of those series, which we launched today, will invite practical people who will share how they do things, etc. I thought, oh, this is great. There are those practical people, leaders of positive change, etc. But then a thought occurred to me that, well, we are those people. Each one of us are those practical leaders of positive change who already affect how people live in our families, in our communities, in our cities, and on this planet. And this moment of sort of returning to our power, right? Not only there are great people out there, but we are those people. It really is an important thought I would like to share as part of reflection on the past year, because so much has been done by each one of us, right? I see several sort of people on the screen whom I know that they have been, or you have been, the powerful change makers and game changers in your communities, in your networks, in your cities. And I'm 50 years old now, and over the years of my life, I learned to really, in any situation, in addition to considerations and large sort of frame thinking, to always bring power to the people with whom I communicate, including myself, of course. Because when we feel that we are the change we want to see in the world, immediately we are empowered. And I'm here to learn from all of us. But there was a couple of small thoughts which came to my mind, which we will hopefully expand upon today and in the future sort of meetings. But we are the sources of power, or we are the co-creators with other humans, with other non-human forms of life, visible and invisible, etc. And also reflecting on the past year, well, I had my second daughter being born. She really emerged into this world physically, and it also gave me lots of, new responsibilities, unexpected for me and my wife. It took much more energy than we ever thought, because we already had one experience in the past. I mean, our elder daughter, but 2 kids, it turns out to be more than double trouble, so to say. Very enjoyable, of course, but very time and energy consuming. And again, the reflection upon this for me is that when we look at the world around us, we see that the problems, challenges, and things we need to take care of, they're constantly growing. And where to get energy and resources to be able to take care of all of those things on personal level, collective level, systemic level, like a city is a sort of large living system, and meta-systemic level on the planetary. I don't talk about cosmic scale, but on a planetary scale, many of us, if not most of us, we already think about it, we act on this level, and where to get time and where to find energy to take care of all of those things we feel connected to. So my perspective, again, based on the observations from the last year, it's three sources I would like to share, and then I pass it on to whoever wants to or feel inspired to speak next. So the first source of energy, I will start with other people, because our motto at Living City Source is humaning well together. We can human well sort of in our minds, of course, but we're also considering this interpersonal space, humaning well together, which is not always easy, as we know, right? Because there are always some things which happen in between people, not always pleasant. Sometimes we have difficulty understanding each other. We have different worldviews. Even we could live in the same apartment or in the same city, but see different futures. And then we need to negotiate, communicate better, etc., etc. but this interpersonal space creates lots of energy because of those things like love, trust, care, and other beautiful things which humans can share, right? We generate those states of mind personally and collectively. So this is the first source of energy, being together with other people in the right state of mind and heart, so to say. The second source of energy, from my perspective, are our personal, let's say, beliefs, our vision, our values, of course. And when we are aware of who we truly are, we get an incredible source or flow of energy, which we could feel and connect to at any specific moment in time, whether it's a joyful moment or a difficult moment. So lots of energy in our personal space, interpersonal space. And the last one, I would add the transpersonal, sort of, let's call it noosphere, right? The Gaia's presence. We could talk about cosmic sort of presence. But if we learn, and we have been using it in very specific city-related projects 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and before. So when we as citizens learn to see ourselves and each other, not only through our physical presence, but also understand deeper layers of consciousness which all humans possess and have access to, potentially, most of us, we are not aware of it. But if we learn, and this is part of learning Gaia, right? It's not only learning how to do things on the surface, which is very important, the material progress, but also how to get connected to our inner powers, which relate to sort of the transpersonal realm. I will stop here. We can definitely talk about it later in more detail, but those three sources of power and energy give us, the resources to be capable of meeting any challenges, really any challenges, and learning along the way as we are the candle of this present moment. Thank you so much. And Alexander, if you could kindly direct where the flow could go. Thank you.
Fantastic, Lev. Thank you so much. And yes, I want to pick this up for a moment here, just to also remember that what we're doing now in this time, in this talk, this Learning Gaia talk today, is setting the stage for our future Learning Gaia talk series that's coming up next time. So the way in which, of course, I said series, and series starts to get going here. That's not what I meant. Sorry, it's not series, not Siri. My computer can be quiet. But what we want to be doing in this series is to engage in a learning conversation. So indeed, when we talk about Learning Gaia talk, it's also learning Gaia, as Pavel, as Lev, as Marina have been saying so beautifully. But it's also learning the talk of Gaia. What is this? What is Gaia talk? Learning Gaia talk, right? What is Gaia talk? How is that? How does Gaia speak through us? And in the process of speaking through us, how do we human well, as Lev was saying? And Marilyn Hamilton, who is one of the core founders of the Living Cities Earth initiative, and who was going to be with us today, will be in our future talks, but again, she's indisposed at the moment. She always makes sure that it's learning to human well together for aliveness. And this idea of for aliveness is key, because this truly is the expression of Gaia in her deepest power and sense. And I would like to share here perhaps what Theo Eisenman has put into the chat. I think it's very perfect and very powerful. And this is the beautiful thing about this kind of conversation, where we can be learning with each other. And this is the point. None of us is as smart as all of us, but together we give voice to all, not only to each other, but also to our ancestors, to future generations, and to all beings on this planet. But let's look at what Theo Eisenman put here in the chat is the following, and I'll read it. he's saying that he loves this framing. Gaia is not just a metaphor. It is true. It is deeply true. Gaia is deeply true. Sorry. And cities, indeed. Okay, I'm going to start again and read correctly. Gaia is not just a metaphor. It is deeply true. And cities are indeed Gaia's reflective organ. Great urbanist Spiro Kostov articulated this very idea, saying as follows: if we still believe that cities are the most complicated artifact we have created, if we believe further that they are cumulative, generational artifacts that harbor our values as a community and provide us with a setting where we can learn to live together, then it is our collective responsibility to guide their design. Theo, this is exactly what Learning Gaia Talk series is meant to address. Thank you for capturing this so powerfully. This is where we are seeking to go to explore together, and we would like this to be in what Bela Banathy would call a learning conversation, which is a disciplined collective inquiry for creating the future. So this is what we do together when we co-emerge our meanings. And this is what the Learning Gaia Talk series is dedicated to. A couple more things I just want to mention here, and then I will pass it back to my colleagues. Again, the exploration that we're doing here is not just a casual, convivial. It's nice to be convivial and to have a sharing of how we're doing. But this talk series is actually meant to be an inquiry, a collective inquiry into what it means to human well together for aliveness. How do we learn to do this? That is a true expression, as Theo put so beautifully into in what I just read from him, in our collective ways of being. And in particular, how do we use the crucible of cities where humans are so in high contact with each other, hopefully with nature, with technology. And this is really kind of the intense point, the meridians in certain ways of our species. So the questions here for me as I explore in this inquiry, first just to mention and to remind us of the candles. So hopefully you still have your candles. A gratitude from the past, as Marina so beautifully put it, and also hope for the future. Thank you, Cynthia, you have them as well. So gratitude from the past and hope for the future. These are our compass of hope in a certain way. And if we can think about the fact that if we are that third candle, as Marina put it, you know that the candle is the only source, maybe there are others you can think of, but that doesn't cast a shadow. There is no shadow made by the candle. Other things in its light have shadows, but the candle itself, there is no shadow of the candle. You bring it against the wall, anywhere you have it. It's a fascinating thing to think about. So how do we bring forth that deeper spirit of being? I'm going to put here into the chat this humaning well together for aliveness, and a quote from and remembering also one of our dear co-founders from Living Cities Earth, who's also been part of Global Education Futures and a previous talk series that we held there, Gail Taylor. And she expressed that our real vocation is rebuilding the world as a work of art for all life. It's a beautiful challenge. And this for me is something I want to remember and to take into the future. And so last two things here, and I'll put the candle back into the center, the talking candle, is I'm also wearing the shirt today for what I hope is our presencing of the past and the future. So this is the idea. We have personal vision, check. Shared vision, check. So this is the idea, that we move forward in our exploration with both our personal vision intact, powerfully engaged, and our shared vision where we can learn with and from each other. And to wrap this up here, this is where I hope maybe it's a little provocative, and we can talk here and with our colleagues as well. I believe that the next stage in human evolution is collective consciousness. And this means, though, that we have to practice this. It's nascent, it's there. We can, as we're doing here, engage in collective intelligence. None of us is as smart as all of us, as I mentioned. But if the next stage is collective consciousness, how do we engage in the sense abilities that can help bring this about as Gaia's reflective organs in the cities, as ourselves, as Theo mentioned, also has been said and quoted by James Lovelock as well, this challenge. So I think not only is there a challenge for our collective consciousness, but also this requires a new sentience, a new way of being those reflective organs, sensing into our interbeing. And for me, this is very much at the heart of Gaia Talk. How can the cities of our planet be these reflective organs in ways that we can sense and then bring into conscious engagement in a reflective way, yes, as the reflective organs. So this, I think, is a wonderful challenge for the Learning Gaia Talk series. I'm going to put my candle, both of them, from the past to future back into the center and see who would like to bring forward the conversation.
So maybe I feel the desire to continue this, and also to maybe invite our fellow keynote listeners at some point to join in and maybe contribute. But I want to turn our attention to this particular year. Lev already started doing this by pointing to some personal events that were happening and some interpersonal events. And while we certainly cannot really, like Marina pointed, cannot really operate perhaps at the level of something that is decided by great political leaders of the world. I think we still can impact that, and there were many events that kind of highlighted the role of civic society in awakening to some of important recognitions and some of important vulnerabilities. And 2023 was quite manifesting in this regard. So I want to actually open up with reflection of what happened, not only for us, but for the world. And maybe less obvious and less known event that has happened just very recently, but I think is very relevant to our conversation about learning Gaia, is something that happened at the latest COP, the gathering dedicated to climate change, where the link, the connection between biodiversity loss and climate crisis was officially admitted for the first time and recognized as a priority of nations and companies that in the past, let's say, in the very recent past, the main priority of climate policies was to reduce emissions, which was mostly to do with how we organize our own industries and our carbon footprint. So it was the complete neglect of what actually planet is doing, and like how we are impacting the self-regulatory dimensions of our planet. And this admission that we need to start working with with biosphere directly and help restore biosphere as #1 priority to address climate crisis. I think it's really an important one, and that is, to me, one of that sort of sets dimension for the learning Gaia. How do we learn to align our human processes in cities, in industries, in transportation, and in energy production with processes by which Gaia makes itself alive? How do we align those two spaces? And that is finally the one of political priorities, and I think it's a very important shift that I would like to say will have a lot of repercussions in next year and beyond. And maybe I'll suggest that each of us can name something that really triggered us, and then we'll see also what were the themes that sort of stood out for people that are present here. So maybe I'll pass to Marina now.
Sorry. Thank you, Pavel, for sort of review and frame topic. While you were speaking, I was, first of all, I was remembering the idea which I really wanted to share with all of us, just in terms of bringing this sort of highlight to our discussion. First, even two thoughts. That first is when I started looking at the description of natural and human communities, I realized through open sources that there is a huge difference in approaches in and sociology to this tool. If we are talking about human community, that's the gathering of people who connect together in order to solve their problems, so achieve their goals. And if we are talking to the description of what is the natural community, the ecosystemic community, that's their sort of being and living of different species together in sort of imbalance for the purpose of prosperity of the ecosystem as a whole. So that's the main topic which I wanted to highlight it, and I very often speak about it at my conversations and in my speeches, that unless, as Alexander told us, that we need to sort of transcend from the personal consciousness to the collective consciousness, because again, I don't remember whose quote is it, but that doesn't matter. So we, in order to express ourselves, we should identify ourselves with something bigger. So if we are part of the natural ecosystems of natural communities, our goals are significant, yes. But the most important is prosperity of the whole ecosystem, the whole community. Because if the community, regardless of the scope of this community, this could be small local community or global community or global Gaia as a community of different species living on it. In it, I liked your reframing, Alexander. So if we are talking, if we are motivated by the prosperity of this bigger system, we understand that from our small contribution, and that's the connection to this idea of that we can't change our politics, our sort of rulers, people who are in charge. No, we can, because if we are the part of this ecosystem, and if we start operating differently, we inevitably will more or less influence the whole ecosystem, and the prosperity of ecosystem will influence our prosperity as well, not vice versa. So that's the main topic. And another topic, we have in Russia the sort of saying that people deserve the leaders they have. And that's another topic which I wanted to touch, that if we work hard, each of us, in order to shift the mindset of the communities we live, and places and spaces we contribute and operate, people will change and leaders will change. Again, not vice versa, because each leader whom we don't like replaced by another leader, and this second leader will be absolutely the same because they adjust to the system. And it's really important. And again, speaking about my personal experience in Russia and former Soviet states, I would say that the system is such that you can replace the leader, you can't replace the whole system. And each new leader has to deal with the rules and with the systems and with all the structures which influence their decisions. So that is why we really can make the difference as small contributors, as small cells, again, cells from our immune system or cells from our cancer systems, not our, but yes, cancer as the metaphor, and being the immune system, bringing peace, bringing a new understanding, bringing education. That's main topics, both for global education futures and for living cities Earth. We really need to bring this new clarity, this holistic worldview, this interconnectedness and this ecosystemic approach, the approach that we, each of us, need to think about prosperity of the ecosystems, the systems, the communities which we belong, in a very egoistic way, because the prosperity of these ecosystems influences us, not vice versa. And by being sort of thriving, you will not guarantee the prosperity of others. But if you can guarantee the prosperity of the community which you belong, the ecosystem which you belong, this will guarantee your prosperity, first of all. So that's maybe sort of philosophical things, but I think that they are very practical in the implementations, starting with the local communities, acting in our wonderful unitive narrative, which we use as our guiding document. There are beautiful words which Marilyn also likes very much, that we need to feel cosmically, if I'm not mistaken, feel cosmically, think globally, and act locally. So it's really important that starting from our small groups, just starting right here, right now, in our conversations, in our day-to-day work, we can really start making the difference on the global level. And by changing people's mindset, we will change the decisions which our leaders make every day. So thank you. Let me pass.
Marina, maybe you can also think about how this topic has reflected in your observation of what happened in this year.
Thank you. So most important thing, which of course influenced being sort of earthling with the Slavic roots, of course, all conflicts between Russia and Ukraine cannot make me sort of calm and indifferent. Of course, conflicts on Middle East as well. We held several beautiful, wonderful, deep discussions around the peacemaking process this autumn about both conflicts and many others which are constantly burning on our planet. And again, we came to the conclusion that only through the education, only through the higher level of consciousness, only through the development of critical thinking of people, being able to discern the propaganda from real facts, it's hugely important, because many people can't perceive the complexity of the situations which are happening. And we are used to consume information from the mass media, and very often it's sort of half of the truth. So again, I think that education and enlightenment and this critical thinking from one hand and moral development is very important, because we live in this sort of capitalist world and also Alexander and you, Pavel, mentioned that we are mostly focused on the objective part of the reality. And in our education systems, in our decision-making systems, in our businesses, we really rely and look at the moral moral side, moral facet of these decisions. So moral development, and if we are talking about evolutionary growing up development, inner development and organizational development, I think that moral line of development is very important. And maybe non-religious spirituality as well, because for me, non-religious spirituality is also the capacity of precisely is the capacity to identify ourselves as the bigger system, and identify our belongingness to these bigger ecosystems and to belongingness to Gaia itself. And if we bring this morality and spirituality into our decision-making, a part of the sort of objective measurements and of effectiveness, this will bring more clarity to people and more balance, and maybe more resistance to propaganda and influence of mass media as well. So that's my sort of conclusions from this year events. Lev, can I pass it on to you?
I want to share a funny observation. At some point, maybe 5 or now 10 minutes ago, Cynthia, hi Cynthia, stepped away and then was coming back. But because she has this background with the waves, to me, she was really walking on water physically. So I look at the screen and I see Cynthia coming from somewhere, from the farther part of the ocean on the water, and it felt so natural, not like the imaginary effect. And I thought, of course, it's a joke a little bit, but still, sometimes we're capable of things we were not aware of in the past. So part of learning is changing our thought patterns and our worldview, our maybe some inner capacity. But part of the learning is also learning new behaviors, right? Like walking on the water, metaphorically. So last year, still, I think it's time to move to the future, but a couple of thoughts about the past. Last year, I was observing how different cities, and I regularly observe, different ratings of cities worldwide, in Europe, in Asia, in the United States, in Canada, in Latin America, in Africa, etc., Australia, of course. And for many years, I'm curious what makes cities be on top, right? It's easy to understand when there are cities with very long history, like Zurich or Amsterdam or I don't know, Vancouver, etc., in the quality of living or livability or some other sort of indices and ratings. But also this year, I particularly was very interested in looking at the ratings and indices of small towns and small cities. There are such as well, because many of those cities and towns were not around 100 years ago, so they don't have a long history of community building, etc. And I'm always surprised when places where I live or lived in the recent past, they come out of thousands of cities on top, like in top 5, top 10. So observing those places which I have personal experience of, right, and reflecting upon what made those cities really stand on top of many, many others, I realized that it's always the quality of communication and collaboration, not so much the natural resources, not so much even of big industry players, which of course is important, right, when they bring their power, like Microsoft or I don't know, Boeing or some others. But it's really the quality of people. And after those small cities come on top, I start observing attentively how is the management system, for example, is organized? What's the community culture being present and developed constantly there? And so to share two specific observations, there is a small city called Kirkland. I don't know, maybe it's 15, 20,000. It's a suburb of Seattle. And I was looking at the new mayor. It's a lady who, I don't know, she became a mayor maybe a couple of years ago. And the city became number 3 in a list of a couple of thousand cities, small cities. And I was talking to this lady, and it turned out that she has, the good of all community in her heart, not in her mind, which she also does, but in her heart. So she is so empathetically and she's so present to the needs of very different parts of the community, but also she has this execution capacity, right? It's not only feeling empathetic, but also acting upon it, right? Being capable and having enough energy to connect to people and move things towards some specific results. So the leadership capacity, so to say, but the evolutionary leadership capacity. Maybe Alexander and Pavel will talk about evolutionary development goals, which were one of the highlights of the past year for me. But to finish off this topic, we started the process of creating a global sort of mayors or city leaders academy, which will be several programs will be launched next year. And why we are doing this is because I personally observed, and I believe that we need to work with leaders, whether in our own city, in our community, or across the region, country, or the planet. And so developing leaders, but not only their managerial capacity, which is important, but their worldviews, right? Their inner beauty, I would say, because a beautiful person creates beauty around him or her. And so that's one more lesson, that supporting evolutionary leadership development in our cities, communities, companies, for-profits, non-profits, even in our families, is a critical factor of success, but also quite a possibility for each one of us, because I know that people who join today and who will be listening to the recording, we are leaders of positive change, game changers, and so I address, I guess, each one of us to find the energy and the motivation in our hearts, in our sort of stream of life, and to find one or two specific things next year. I'm moving already to the next, but I'll pass it on to the next speakers, of course, to really see how we could enhance our evolutionary leadership capacity in ourselves, in people who are next to us, and to larger sort of people on this planet, because we are very, very much interconnected as species on this one living planet flying through the space. Who would like to speak first? I love reading Teo's comments. Teo, if I could pass it on to you, if you could share your reflections on the past year and maybe connect us to the future. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's morning here, so I'm still drinking my morning tea, and but this has been a beautiful, beautiful way to start the day. And I mean, if I have any thoughts right now, they're just very much about where I am right now in this life that I'm leading. I'm American and Swedish. I'm dual national, and I sort of grew up with a sort of a world-centric kind of worldview, and in fact, I'm in the U.S. right now, but I'll be in Sweden all spring. I'm based at the University of Massachusetts, and I'm on sabbatical. I'm blessed to have a sabbatical, and I'm really right now just really enthused by coming into dialogue with you all, because it's reinforcing a lot of the things that I've been wanting to work on, and for my sabbatical, and so I'm getting so much energy just from this right now, and that's why I'm manically scribbling down notes here, and because I'm realizing that so many of the things that I want to be writing about and advancing are basically embraced in this dialogue that we're having. I'll just, if it's okay, I'll just share a little bit about that because I think it's relevant to the broader conversation that we're having. My particular focus is urban greening. I have a background in landscape architecture and urban planning, and so my dissertation and much of my work is about greening cities. And by greening, I'm referring specifically to vegetation in cities. So we can talk about green cities, and that might mean things like, energy systems and transportation, and that's all obviously very important. My particular, narrowly defined research focus is on urban greening, and that's become really a very interesting lens through which to grapple with the broader idea of cities and nature and the Anthropocene. Because it's all there in the term urban greening, right? Greening is the natural, and the urban's there. And one of the things that I've become increasingly, I'm finding that the discourse on urban greening is very much grounded in what I would call a modernist kind of positivist orientation, meaning if we just vegetate as much as possibly and don't attend to all the other dimensions of that constitute living in a city, meaning the human habitat. And I love that term. That somehow it's almost being treated like a panacea. And it's, to use integral language, it's all right hand stuff. There's very little attention to how human beings interact in cities and how we experience cities. That's the term I try to use instead of saying interior, because it's too abstract for most people. But the experiential dimension, both at the individual level and the collective dimension. And so I know I see the heads nodding, and I just intuit that there's a real receptivity to this kind of thinking in this group. So I'm getting so much energy from this because this is something that I have a goal of writing about this year now, and so I'm just getting so much energy from this gathering, and I'll just share the other thing that and by the way, I would welcome any further dialogue and collaboration that can help to infuse and advance this. So that's something very concrete that's happening for me in terms of my work life, and something that I think I can work on and really bring in this wonderful inquiry that we're having. I guess the other thing that I'll mention is that very first comment I made around, I love the framing of what is Gaia Talk? How does Gaia talk? And that's such a beautiful just framing for how we interact. And I think there's a real profound, the scope of potential there is just infinite. And I just love that the framing of these particular learning Gaia Talk sessions. And bravo for setting this up this way. And I think there's just a huge potential here going forward. So with that, I'll turn it back over.
Dale, thank you so much. I'm going to pass it to Pavel here, and then I'll pick it up after him. But just also to put what you put here about Thich Nhat Hanh also in the chat, and the idea of the collective, the sangha, the community of the monks. Indeed, the Dalai Lama has also said that the next incarnation of the Dalai Lama will be the sangha, right? So the idea that now this collective intelligence is the next stage of our interbeing, of our Ubuntuing, and it goes right to the heart of our Western penchant for strident individualism and self-righteous independence. And to realize, as Marina was putting it, the living organism doesn't work this way. Unless you're the cancerous cell, right? Then you're doing your own thing. But otherwise, there is a harmonizing, what in my work I call syntony, but I can get onto that at some other point. But this is, I think, the learning, the Gaia talk is this learning, this aspect. But I'll pick this up in a moment. I want to pass it to Pavel, and then I'll say a few things after him.
Yeah, I actually feel that when we reflect about the year 2023, there is another, let's call it, elephant in the room, and it's actually literally in our rooms. So there is a AI that made a massive, there was a massive breakthrough that has happened in late 2022 actually, but it got into the world in 2023. It sort of started to promote, proliferate. It's the fastest spreading disruptive technology in the history, and it's also there was a massive scandal very recently. It's one of highlights of autumn, the scandal around OpenAI, and very few people actually understand what has been happening. There are several hypotheses. It was not really properly disclosed what was the series of events and what triggered them. One of assumptions is that actually OpenAI achieved massive, let's say, advancement in terms of creating a general artificial intelligence, and that some people in the board of OpenAI started to perceive it as an existential risk. And while I think this is more of a speculation than a reality, and actually if we think about what can go wrong with the present level of development of AI, there probably can be some harm, but I don't think much, because that technology is not yet connected to the major regulatory systems of our society. It doesn't run nuclear weapons. It does probably, most likely. It doesn't run our cities. It doesn't run our transportation systems. But it can be our very likely future. And also one of concern that was expressed when things such as ChatGPT started to proliferate is how they can disrupt our way of communicating with each other and our ability to share ideas, to highlight ideas, to promote, let's say, new or best ways of thinking. So they can actually, the impact on our ability to become more aware, to reflect, to think, to act upon our thinking is getting disrupted. And that is, to me, potentially both a biggest, let's say, opportunity and a biggest risk. Because, let's say, up until now, it was neural networks that were natural neural networks that were connecting with each other like we do right now, even by means of different technologies, including Zoom. But it was humans talking to humans, not really introducing something that potentially could become, let's say, a general intelligence as good as any of us in creating new meanings, ideas, and so on. And also maybe intentionally creating those ideas in a weaponized way. That's one of the risks that has been concerned, is like, can, for example, one of great powers use OpenAI to intentionally manipulate, the specific types of, like AIs, large language models, to intentionally manipulate ideas and public opinion in another country. So can that be, for example, a game that starts to play in our interpersonal space, and by throwing these ideas into social media, creating viral ideas. Right now, we already know about fake news, about fake images, everything, but that's just the beginning. If we can think how this technology can evolve in like 3, 5, 10 years from now, we are standing at the threshold of something that is potentially very, very dangerous. So indeed, how are we going to human better in the age of general artificial intelligence is, to me, one of the things we definitely need to consider. and how we can see, again, in the spirit of good Anthropocene, how we can see this emergent process as a great evolutionary opportunity, rather than a threat that is kind of disrupting our jobs, disrupting our society, destroying our institutional systems, potentially destroying infrastructure, and becoming an existential risk. That's a question to me, and I don't think we have enough conversations around this kind of topic, where we can actually not just be overly optimistic in the, let's say, utopian way, not to be overly pessimistic, like dystopian futures, but be what we call protopian, be the optimistic yet realistic in seeing that we are passing through some kind of evolution transition. Part of that evolution transition, one of the facets, but not the only one, is evolution of our technologies that becomes increasingly sentient and probably at some point can even become self-aware. That's a question mark for me. I think from some perspectives of what consciousness is, probably that will not happen, but we never know. There's, let's say, that can also be part of our collective journey. And what are we going to do in this event when we start facing self-aware machines that increasingly become independent and have their own goals, and how we're going to live in that future? That's, to me, part of the journey, but that's part of the journey also for us as Learning Gaia, because in some regard, this is a unique evolutionary event of some new type of life, almost that, emerging on our planet. And that's something that has not happened for billions of years. And now we are witnessing, can that be a birth of a new life form here? So this is to be a really important process, and it's the process that requires reflection and requires also discovering pathways into more positive and desirable futures. That's, I think, is one of important events of 2023 and important segues into 2024. Alexander.
Awesome, Pavel. These are the challenges, and this, I think, just is a taste of what Learning Gaia Talk is going to be exploring throughout this coming year. So we're going to be having this talk series every month, and we're going to have guests on. It's usually going to be in the format of two people. Pavel and I will be doing the main co-hosting and facilitating, and then we'll have a guest or two each time, and we're going to really dedicate the second part of those sessions. This is our introductory session where we're mainly sharing with you some of these ideas, but in the future sessions we really want to have a time for us to interact also with everyone who participates in the session. So it'll be much more interactive and audience participative. Let me just pick up on a couple of things there in terms of where we, I think, can be going, not only in this talk series, of course, but in the inquiry that we have about learning this talk, Learning Gaia Talk, and about living cities, and about education futures. So these are the things that we are bringing together in this crucible here, in this exploration. And I want to pick up a little bit on something that Lev was talking about when he saw Cynthia walking on the water. This ties into what Pavel was also just now talking about, this augmented reality and the capacity for our humanistic transhumanism to augment our capacities to even visualize, dream of the kind of cities that Theo is talking about, the urban green cities. Imagine that. Imagine how we live in these places, right? And if we can imagine that, even with an augmented reality, shared visualization and immersive experience, right? This interiority, this that Theo was also talking about in terms of the experiential component of how do we live together on this planet? How does this planet live through us? And I think this augmented reality capacity can lead to this, what Pavel was talking about also in terms of augmented intelligence, not artificial intelligence, but augmented intelligence, augmented by each other, by connection to nature, and by ways in which technology connects us to life. This is the power of what we call artificial intelligence, even artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence, still a dream. But this idea that it connects us to life. Janine Benyus, one of the founders of biomimicry, said that life creates conditions conducive to life. So how do we do that? How does technology empower us to create conditions conducive to life? Because we often don't do that. I mean, what Marina was talking about so powerfully in terms of all the destructions that we see going on in the world, that we experience in the world today, right? This is not humaning well, and it is not the way in which life creates conditions conducive to life. So the problem is that we get in this what sometimes is called the VUCA world, the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, and we don't know how to orient ourselves. But we can orient ourselves together. This is the power of Living Cities Earth, truly, and about the kind of learning paradigm that Global Education Futures is exploring, which is how we can respond to the overwhelming challenges of life in a VUCA world, where everything is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, and learn to do that together. Because again, as I said at the beginning, no one of us is as smart as all of us. And when I say all of us, I mean nature as well. Future generations, our ancestors, listening, being in dialogue with them, not just dialogue, but this sacred dialogue with them. So this is the collective sense making. And I think I want to just wrap this here, and then we're going to have to move towards closure because we have about 5 minutes left. But, you know, there's this saying, we are the ones we've been waiting for. It can sound a little elitist. Just us here, just this group, but that's not what it's meant. What we really mean is that all of us are on this journey together. We are the ones we've been waiting for. All of humanity and all of our interbeing, of all the wise species, we can learn so much from the trees. And learning this Gaia Talk, right? This I think is where we're not waiting anymore, right? This is the idea, right? We're not waiting anymore. And I think part of what we want to do in this talk series, but also in what we're doing with Living Cities Earth and with Global Education Futures, is to seek to model this ourselves, to be the change we want to see in the world, to be the systems, to be that Sangha, if you will, in this sacred interbeing of the potential for Gaia to express itself through humans, augmented by technology, but really in the sacred space of life and of love. Lev is always talking about how we bring this into the space of love. Lev even sounds like love, if you think about it, depending on how you pronounce it. So here we are. So maybe we can just take 1 minute. My candles are about to go out. And it's about the right timing here because we have just a few more minutes. So let's take 1 minute to say what has come up for each of us on the speakers panel here. I will pass it first to Pavel.
Maybe with the spirit of also recognizing that we are at the very end of the year. It's basically a few days before Christmas. It's a little more, and we have a new year. So in the spirit of end of the year, I also feel that it's important that we kind of manifest it and extend some wishes into 2024. And that's one thing that comes up for me is that these two candles image that you brought, Alexander, is I think exactly that. We are holding both the past that we dedicated our attention to, but also the future. Like, where are we extending our attention and our intention as we move ahead into 2024? And I feel what surfaced for me is the potential of leaders, the potential of collectives to make that transition that we all hope for more real than ever. And the discovery how we can collectively human better as one of, let's say, tasks that are our task for next year and beyond. And I'll pass to Marina.
Thank you, with the deepest gratitude. And I would like to finalize with the idea that the threat of artificial intelligence is to influence our judgments about truth and about what is right. So let us not be judgmental. And at the same time, it can be an accelerating tool. So let us use it to accelerate our spread of love throughout our connections and to all humanity. So with gratitude to 2023, with hope to see you lots of time in 2024, with the wishes of deep wisdom to all of us. So thank you, much love, and happy winter holidays to all of us. I'm passing to Lev.
Thank you very much. I was thinking about what Marilyn Hamilton would say, and I don't know what she would say, but yesterday I sent her a small video. As you know, Marilyn often talks about bees, beehives, and human hives. And I sent her a short video from YouTube, which is a close-up sort of video recording of what happens inside the beehive with the sounds. It's very grounding, as she said, and really inspiring somehow. So I look at all of us as a sort of human hive, all of us who are present today, everybody who will be watching the recording, and really everybody who is currently, I think all the human, or at least most of humans, they live today on Earth or in Earth, as Alexander said. So I love the idea today that we are, and I'm not afraid to say that we are the leaders who change the world. Of course, we be in a much broader community than any one of us or a small group. So all of us who have this self-awareness and capacity to really bring positive impact onto the world and with the world. So we are like those small bees, but together we create a lot of honey. So I look forward to 2024 as an opportunity to create more honey together. Thank you very much. And I pass it on. I don't know. I would love to hear Randy's voice at the end because he's been such a presence today. But Alexander, you are the moderator. Please take it forward. Thank you.
Pavel and I are doing this, but let's let me. Why don't we do it this way? Because I don't want to abuse people's time here. We are already a little bit over. So I will say a word. Pavel will say a word, and Randy, yes, let's, Marina, if we can go ahead already and give him the talking privileges. But at the very end, any thought that's in your heart, thought in your heart, I don't know if that's the right way of putting it, or feeling in your mind. So for me, this idea of honey in your heart, you know, this is the expression that comes from the Quechua when they give their greetings. Honey in your heart. I think this is the beautiful way of wishing this flow, the richness, the yumminess that we need to bring into the world. Thank you. Pavel, to you.
Let us hive together. And I'm really curious to maybe invite for the last few words people that were present with us.
So let's do this. Let's get a word from, and again, I don't want to make it, you have to feel too short, but please try not to take more than a minute or so, from Randy and also from Cynthia. These are the ones who we've seen who we've seen their presence, so I can at least have their words. Randy, please, to you first.
Well, if you can hear me, it's been a wonderful dialogue, and I've really enjoyed it. I guess in 2024, I'm thinking about doing more cathedral thinking, and by that I mean I'm a part of a long process, and what I'm building is, it may be the door frame, it may be the bell tower, but there's a cathedral being built, and so I want to make sure in 2024 I do my part. I'm also very involved here living in the United States in discussions of democracy as a form of government. And part of that is people that are very much opposed now on divisiveness. And one of the things that has come out of this discussion as well is I know people that are conservative, and what they tend to do is they want to conserve and preserve what they cherish. And I know people that are very progressive, and they want to enhance or maybe have the emergence of things that they cherish become stronger values. The critical thing is that we discuss what is it that we cherish that these people are dividing over, and try to bring that holistic approach about. I think those are the discussions that we need. So I look forward in 2024 to continue that discussion about what is essential, what do we cherish, and how do we go about making that better and preserving what is good.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you so much, Randy. This, as the Mandalorian would say, this is the way. Thank you. Cynthia, maybe a final word, closing with you, and I think with that we'll wrap up.
Word. There's so much power in words, and you guys are so awesome. You're not trying to, like, remake and rebuild. You're redoing. You're creating new systems. And, I saw in the introduction of this, like, we have fear and hope and, like, back and forth. And I did write a book, and I'm getting back in the world again. I've been out of it for 2 years. Compass of Hope. And Alexander's beautiful support of it. I put it on the cover, his endorsement. But with COVID and the war and AI, people are realizing, oh my gosh, if I want any peace, I've got to, like, make it. Like, we're not just going to be endowed with peace. So people are becoming, I just feel this year, everyone's become more sentient, more aware of, what's going on inside and what kind of world do they want. And we're realizing the power of our imagination, because we realize where we are, we imagined and got ourselves here. So now with our thinking and our hearts being open and listening, we'll go to the next place. And we don't know where it is, but day by day, we just stay in love everywhere we go. Even at home when we're not with anybody, we're making a big difference. But anyways, it's such an honor and pleasure to meet you. I've been following some of your work, and we'll continue. So just deepest gratitude. You are Gaia talking. Don't doubt that.
We are Gaia Talk. Thank you so much, everyone. And this is it. I mean, there's this, it's real. It's here. It is here, this connection. And it's going to take a village or many 10,500 cities, but we'll do this together. All right. Stay connected, and we'll see you in the next Gaia Talk, Learning Gaia Talk. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Thank you.